Godfather. Pulled up to the scene in a 65 Bentley, dripped in Brioni, China doll with me, looking like a supermodel. Oh, what a feeling. 25 years old, 25 million. Today's the audition for the Godfather part. My life's already a movie, so when do I start? I walk up in Patsy's, East 119th Street. Fat Tony Salerno gets a kiss on the cheek. I know my way around, not my first time here. Been doing overnight Ziganet loans for 10 years. I say hello to Danny Pagano and Tough Tony. Nicky Domino gives me a nod, they all know me. They ask why I'm there so early, I say the part. They say what part? I say the movie, why not? I don't look like Carlo, they all begin laughing. 3 p.m. ready for the lights, cameras, action. Gianni getting your zone.
My name is Gianni Russo, a.k.a. Carlo, the infamous son-in-law from The Godfather. I'm now known as the Hollywood Godfather, and this is my story.
Walking with a limp like will I ever run? Once again, or is this it? Am I forever done? Living in the hospital was never fun. Some people were cool, but not everyone.
Welcome, everybody. It's time for another Hollywood Godfather podcast. And I can guarantee you this is going to be a real interesting one. First, being we have a lady with us now, she'll always be first. Julia, welcome our co-host, Julia. How are you today, my dear?
Yeah, doing well, doing well.
And my co-writer, my friend, my compadre, my brother I never had, Pat Piccarelli.
How is everybody today? We have a very good show today. Before I introduce you to the guests, I'll give you a little background. He's gone. Oh, no, okay. Can you see and hear me?
Yeah, we see him.
Oh, all right, because my screen is gone.
I thought you said he was gone.
No, the screen is, no. It's,
we get blamed for this too now.
Okay, here we go. I'm sorry about that, folks. We had a little technical snafu. Anyway, before I introduce our guest, I want to give you a little background on him. Paul Tanso was a made member of the mafia, worked out of Boston. As is the usual case, he got in a little bit of trouble. In fact, he got in a lot of trouble. And he managed to secure the services of arguably the best criminal lawyer that ever was, F. Lee Bailey, to represent him. And aside from that story that he's going to tell us, he's going to go through his career, be it as it may. So, without any further delay, we give you Paul Tanso. How you doing, Paul?
Hi, how are we doing today? And thank you for having me on. Really looking forward to the interview.
No, it's our pleasure.
We have an audience and no one knows who you are. I don't think the audience knows who we are. That said, give us a little background. Start with you growing up. Everybody has a starting point here. How you got involved with organized crime, but you didn't. You weren't born taking the oath. What was your childhood like? How did you grow up? How did you get involved with organized crime?
And Paul, can I give you a little intro? Make sure don't take anything for granted. Our audience doesn't know who you are, so giving dates and times help them chronologically follow your story, including me.
Thank you.
Oh.
More or less, it was all around you growing up. The North End is kind of a real small, tight-knit neighborhood. There's no place else like it in the world. If you've ever been down there for a couple of days, you'd understand. And it's really close. Back in the 70s, I mean, nobody really had anything. And I grew up on the waterfront in what we called Ghost Town, and the car wash was pretty much a junkyard. And that's where we grew up down there hanging around and playing down on abandoned buildings and junkyards and, doing normal 70 kid stuff. Kick the can.
Oh yeah.
Well, how did you transition into any kind of crime? You started small, joined a gang. What did you do?
There was really no joining gangs. It was just, like I said, it was like on every corner. Everybody knew who the guys on the corner were. Pretty much like you see in the movies.
Yeah.
Back then, it was Johnny, Richie, and Peter on the corner, and everybody knew who they were and what they stood for. And you see a lot of mimicking on it in our Bronx Tale. And it's pretty much like that, especially when you're in those little Italian neighborhoods like that.
I mean, what you're saying is so, especially I found myself not like the New York families that were organized for a while, but like Boston, even Chicago, they have one group, and that's who's running the town for that time.
Yeah.
And I was up there, you know, Nicky Vaccaro and all them, I guess.
Oh, yeah, Nicky Strager.
Yeah, hello,
Good friend, dear man. He's great.
I used to hang out in Strager's, his restaurant, every other restaurant he bought either.
Oh.
No, I'm very familiar. In fact, I'll be up there. Our audience can know that. I'll be at the Regent in Arlington, Mass.
Oh, I'm always down St. Anthony's Feast.
Well, you got to come to my show. I'm at the Argent.
I will.
July 20th.
Locked in on Thatcher Street down at Sal's Lunch. My friend's family owns the building at the little luncheonette place over there, and we usually lock in. It's like a little mini block party every year. Yeah,
I'll be there on the 20th of July and the 22nd.
Huh? Good to know.
Let me know. You'll be my guest. I'll have tickets for you.
Sounds
Let's
good.
get back to the show. I'm sorry to interrupt. I made a commercial for myself, but I had to get it in.
I mean, I guess you noticed it as a kid. Like, one of my big analogies is like, I used to go to the North End swimming pool every summer. And everybody else's parents were there except my parents, because my parents had to work. And all my friends' parents were there because no one else ever had a job. So, I mean, it's really in your face. You're wondering why your parents ain't around and their parents are always around. And they have better cars and better clothes. And, you kind of grow up wanting.
Well, they gave you a built-in a curiosity of how come they can do this and nobody goes to work.
Yeah, more or less. I'm the only person in my family ever arrested. No one else has ever been. I'm the only one with a record. Almost all my uncles basically were all our World War II vets.
Yeah.
Decorated. Big shout out to my nephew, Michael DeRosa, retired petty officer, second class, 3 tours of duty, search and rescue instructor.
That's great. That's great.
So,
again, like you're saying,
that family, it's just the need, wanting more than what you have. And you think you're so poor at that time, and look back now, and those are the richest days of your life.
Well, yeah, as you say, growing up, and I'm a lot older than you. In the 70s, I already made The Godfather, but it didn't change 20 years earlier. It was the same thing. I grew up without my parents. I came out of Bellevue 5 years being quarantined. So when you hit the street, you're saying like, wait, look at all the privileges these people have. How'd they get them? And you could easily go the wrong way.
Yeah. I mean, there was some nights growing up, and one of the stories I used to tell is me and my friend one night, it was pouring rain, we're freezing, we're hungry. Neither one of us got $1 between us, and we actually stole so much pizza coming out of the Regina Pizza just to eat.
Oh, yeah.
There was
survival. It's called survival.
Yeah. There was some rocky times as a child. And I mean, most other families, they had more or less. I had 2 brothers, 2 sisters, and a living aunt, and 2 dogs, and 1 bathroom in the whole house. So, it was pretty crowded.
Yeah.
So what did you start doing?
Me, I was more or less just a troublemaker, going around, just being the wild kid in town and doing stuff like that. And that gets the attention of the other guys. And next thing you know, they're giving you a couple of bucks to break someone's windows and stuff like that. And you're a kid, you don't know the politics of it, just know you're selling window insurance and more or less stuff like that. And, and then it progresses. Someone with slush carts ain't supposed to be selling slush with alcohol in them, so they get their slush carts burnt. And, it progresses and it goes up and up and up. Well, but my big claim to fame was being framed for 2 counts of murder I didn't commit. That's really what dragged me in. At that point, I had no choice. I had to jump in with both feet. It was the only way I was going to get out the other side.
So who put you in that position? Somebody we would know that you could talk to?
Actually, everybody involved knows each other, or actually cousins. You've been down the road that everybody's related, more or less. Right. And 2 kids got murdered, and their eyewitness basically said it was me when it was him. He came back during the second trial. He showed up, and he actually confessed to the crimes and gave an exact ballistics recount of makes, models, calibers, distances the guns were fired. And they told him, since they can't charge him with murder, they're going to charge him with perjury. And he goes, well, I'm going back to my original story. Paul Tanso did it.
Original story.
Yeah.
How old were you when this was going on?
Huh?
How old were you?
I was 21 when the case started. I was 30 when it ended. 2 jury trials, full jury trials.
And Marvin represented on both of them?
Ken Fishman actually handled the first trial, and Mr. Bailey F. Lee came in on the second one. And I remember him first time talking to him, and his exact words were, I waited my whole life for this case. You know, he's like, I wanted an innocent man on the stand and a guilty man pointed the finger. He goes, you've got to give me this case. I thought it was pretty much a practical joke because I was serving natural life at the time. You know, no chance of ever coming home. And next thing I know, I'm making history, and I'm the first person ever to be released on bail after being convicted of a double homicide. It was one of the largest sentences, too.
Belli was licensed there in Miami, so you were lucky that he had a license up there.
Oh, Bailey! Oh, he was licensed everywhere. He was. I can't even say enough about him, but just to be around him, he had that just effect. Made you feel.
I knew him really well, you know.
Did you?
Oh my God, yeah, I knew him. I met him with Roy Black, Al Malnick. I mean, you're giving him credit. But he was in an arena of the best.
Oh my God.
Best.
My cousin, Louis Ferrara, AKA, I call him Bunker still since we were kids. He actually hung out with him and Ken. And that's how I ended up originally getting Ken Fishman. And Ken Fishman became a judge later on. And I've never met a more noble or honorable man.
So you were convicted after the first trial?
I was convicted. I was serving natural life, another one on and after, and a 3 to 5 on and after that for a handgun that was never produced into evidence. I was convicted because the district attorney read their so-called eyewitness's testimony to the jury, and the jury was never informed that the eyewitness wasn't present. So they went on the fact that he was actually the witness telling the story. And I never actually had the right to face my accuser in a court of law. Plus, I took a lie detector test, polygraph.
So that's how you got the second trial?
That's how I got the second trial. Judge Liakos, I think, was the deciding judge. He actually granted me back on bail. I was on bail for almost the whole first trial. And I hit the streets.
For a lot of our audience who don't know who F. Lee Bailey was. I mean, F. Lee Bailey at that time, what year was this you're talking about, Paul?
70s, you're saying.
This is 1988, I think, or 88 or 89. He got involved in the case. Case started in 86.
F. Lee Bailey was a star from the 1950s. I mean, he was the criminal lawyer. And what you're saying is he approached you.
Yeah, I was using his firm already with Ken Fishman, Peter Horstman, TK, Dan Leonard, secretary up there, Gloria. She used to make my tie every day because I never knew how to make a tie. Didn't have a reason to wear a tie. I wasn't a tie person.
Yeah, you were from the street. Who wears ties?
Yeah. All those years at Catholic school, I wore a clip-on.
No, but I think what he said earlier it was the attraction for Lee, because Lee loved cases. And as he said, what attracted to him was this is a man that was convicted for murder who's innocent. So this was his time to shine, and he just wanted to do it. He didn't need money, believe me.
Yeah, he did it pro bono the second trial.
Wow.
Yeah. I remember he took me for lunch in the Parker House, and we got cheeseburgers there. They're like $30 cheeseburgers, and I'm looking at the prices, and I'm like, oh my God, And he's like, what they give me on pro bono fee doesn't even cover our lunch, he said. And he had so many colorful sayings and like so many good memories of them. But I mean, that's the whole team I had up there. I had the dream team before OJ. I just want everybody to know that. I really did.
Well, I know you did.
Best attorneys working round the clock for me. Even private investigators like Gary Vail, Charlie Moore, never gave up.
You're lucky. Well, it is their loyalty to that group. That's the whole thing. You were blessed. You had an angel on your shoulder, man.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that.
You wouldn't be on this show if you didn't have them. You'll still be inside.
But the second trial, Paul, how long was the jury?
They were in and out fast. And the lawyers were astonished. Like the whole jury waited downstairs for me to hug me and kiss me.
Really?
Yeah. I think the Judge McDaniels, his niece was up there because she was a law student. She even approached my lawyers and says, wow, they're railroading your client.
Yeah. Good for you.
So,
So how much time did you do prior to the second trial?
I think it works out to like 3 years, in between, and plus the time on bail before I made bail on the first thing. I tell you the truth, like I think back of it now, and it's like there's so much of it I just don't remember. I don't know if it's blocked out or whatever.
It's as you know, it's very, very rare to get bail on a capital case.
I know. I paved the way for a lot of other innocent guys to come home too. I actually met Angel Aclaveria. He actually used my case, did 35 years for a murder he didn't commit, came home. And a couple other ones where the DNA was never properly tested. They retested it. Guys released after 30 years and stuff. And they used my case to come home on bail and stuff like that.
I'm looking at Julia's face, who's a girl from Australia, who's never even heard stories like this.
Yeah,
It's a judicial system in America.
Yeah.
It's who you know. And if it's an election year, it's even worse for a criminal because they're going to pull out any idiot to make them look like heroes. And they got away with
some comments about hanging me over and over again. We're going to sink one good apple with the rest of the bad ones, and your client's not that good of an apple. And, things like that. And I remember Bailey really got pissed when someone made a comment that he's a drunk with shaky hands. And that's when he lost his mind. That's when he went speaking at all the colleges, told all the colleges the cases he was working on. And they were looking up case laws by the thousands and flooding the office, just submitting. Now it wasn't one lawyer against the system. It was every lawyer in the state. One guy just rallied the troops, and Bailey could do that.
So you're declared not guilty the second time around.
Yes.
Did the state reopen the homicide investigation?
Yeah. One of my co-defendants is still away, and my other co-defendant came home within the past couple of years. And I wish everybody the best. And like I said, even the eyewitness who blamed me, I mean, you're talking about 15, 16-year-old kids that are being bullied into mob life and beaten up by mob guys and mob associates and bullied in. And they didn't know what they were getting into. Like I said, their lives became living hells. What happened transpired. It's a horrible thing, but it's a horrible thing when you got grown men picking on 15, 16-year-old kids trying to shake them down.
The worst testimony there is eyewitness testimony.
Yeah, definitely. Bailey taught me that.
Everybody watches television.
Too much television.
Well, you have an eyewitness. The guy's got to be the guy. But you ask any police officer, any lawyer, any judge, eyewitness testimony is the worst. I've handled cases where you got 5 witnesses and they have eyewitnesses and they all swear to it, what they saw, and you got 5 different stories.
Yeah.
You see what they want to see.
We had a lot of that going on with some lawyer that was watching from the window, Mr. Schindler or something. And he said he heard gunshots and he couldn't see out the first window, and he went to the second window and the gunshots were still going on. And he said he had to go to the third window, shut the light and clear the ice and looked out, and then he saw the murders taking place. Bailey pointed out, he goes, by the time he ran to the third window, 3 guys shooting guns, 30 shots, it's like a pack of fireworks. You would never made it to the second window. The whole time frame was screwed up.
Again, another guy looking for glory. That's all he was doing.
Yeah. He also said that his secretary cut my picture out of the Boston Herald. They were kind enough to put my picture on the front page of the Boston Herald before they put me in a police lineup. He said that his secretary told him to do that. So Bailey had the idea, let's put his secretary on the stand. And she got on the stand, she started crying and said, I never did that. He never told me to do that. So he was lying, and Bailey just axed them one at a time.
Oh, yeah.
He went through them. He was efficient.
No,
to prove a point, I teach on a college, on a university level. The first day, second day of class, I'd be talking about eyewitness testimony, and then this is all prearranged. I have somebody come into the class and hand me something that I was supposed to sign, and they were standing with me for about 10 seconds. I went through a couple of pages. sign what I had to sign. I gave it to the student who came in and they left. Once the student's gone, I said, everybody take out some paper. Tell me what you saw. They write it down. There's 30, 40 students in the room. They got race wrong. They got gender wrong, clothes, and they're standing right there. You know, I mean, you're predisposed to see what you want to see. And when you're on,
basically put in your head, they usually lead you with their questions and whatever way they want you to go. Yeah, well, once they arrest you, they stop looking for suspects.
Well, the prosecutors prepare the witnesses. At least that's what they call it. But little by little, it's a situation. Yeah, they convince them. I mean, I say this happens in all cases, but it's not the way to properly conduct an investigation. You have to have an open mind. But when you zero in on a target that looks good, like you, with maybe a little, seedy background, and they can bring that into the case. We have the fairest system there is, or so I'm told.
I had the greatest mentor in the world called Frank Costello. Anytime there was an inkling of something happening, he would secure an attorney for me, because then they had to go to the attorney first to say, your client, you got to bring him in. Well, that gave me enough time to leave the country. I've left the country for 22 months. I've never been fugitive. I never was served, so I could do what I want. I wait for the case to go away, because he told me they're going to put you in jail just for association. Too many people. And it's, especially during an election year, forget about it. You're a target. I've never been in jail. Never had handcuffs on.
Ed, what time is it now?
It's time to make some money.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. God bless you. Paul, don't go anywhere, because we know where you live and we know where they live. We'll be right back.
We are pleased to announce the publication of a new book series from Gianni Russo and Patrick Piccarelli entitled The Sixth Family. When the alleged daughter of Marilyn Monroe asks for help, Gianni Russo becomes entangled in a web of lies and violence in the search for the late actress's diary. Soon, he is enmeshed in a mystery that involves a presidential candidate, a disgruntled mafia capo, a retired NYPD detective, and the past of mafia boss Frank Costello. Russo must race against the clock to stop a hostile reorganization of the American mafia, while trying to stay one step ahead of a faceless killer. While listening to this book, skillfully read by Gianni himself, the listener will have to determine what is true and what is fiction. Or as Gianni says before this epic story begins, this book is a work of fiction, except for the parts that are true. Look out for the second installment of this exciting new series coming in 2023, The Sixth Family. Book 1 is available now on Amazon.com.
All right, we're back. Paul, great story, man. And what timing to get F. Lee Bailey at the peak of his career, beyond the peak of his career. He's the biggest guy in the world.
Yeah, he could do no wrong. He had fleets of jets, helicopters. I mean, the guy was flamboyant. I mean, and he was good at what he did.
Hearst, he had the Boston Strangler, plus others. He really, he had
his
a lot
big
of big
cases. Did you know that, Julia? He had Patty Hearst.
Yeah. I was doing some research into that the other day.
I mean, that case in itself. Well, I mean, the cases.
The picture was on the wall in the office.
Oh, yeah. It's interesting. Like, Pat just said something that here is a man with all the knowledge in the world of the law, and they brought him down. They brought him down at the end. I mean, this poor guy was disbarred.
Yeah.
That's
how you have to life with a disbarred lawyer.
It's
jealousy comes into play here.
Oh, yeah.
Toes he stepped on, prosecutors he stepped on over the years. If they see an in where no one else would get called to the carpet on what he did, or would have had a chance to rectify it? Do we want to go through what he was arrested for? Yeah, that's public information, right?
Oh, it's public information. Okay.
Yeah, he took a fee in cash, and he was what was the exact choice? You could take fees in cash. You just have to pay taxes.
It was stocks, I'm pretty sure. He took stocks and they went up in value, and the guy wanted the value for them that they went up in. Although when he took them, they were less money. And then the guy wanted the full value for them.
So the guy ratted him out.
Yeah, more or less. That's pretty much
That's
what I
how,
got from
yeah.
hanging around the office back then.
That's a pretty pissy case.
Yeah.
But there was another case, a major mob guy that they were keeping an eye on. And he started defending that guy. And then that guy gave him the opening to go to his safe deposit boxes, because that's where the stocks were being held. And when they went in there, they found $3 million in cash. Now they wanted to know, where did you get that? And that's how his case blew up. He could never give up the guy that gave him the money. It was a friend of mine, major killer. And he gave him the money, and he was masterminding his case in a boiler room they put together. His name was not on as the attorney, but he was giving them all the information, and they knew that. And if this guy got out, and he did anyway, but that's why they went after him. They destroyed him. Unfortunately, it's a crazy. I mean, that's why when I heard you were coming on, I know so much about this guy and had dinner with him. I used to meet them in Miami just to sit and talk with them. They were brilliant. I mean, brilliant guys. And Malnick is still around. You know that, don't you? Malnick's 91, man. Sharp as a tack. I talk to him once a month. One of the most brilliant lawyers in the world.
What year did F. Lee Bailey get jammed up?
Defend me? I think it was 94, 95 was the trial.
Okay, so it
started in 86.
Okay, he was a disbarred lawyer all that time. He didn't die too long ago. He died a couple of 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, I think it had to be about 3-4 years ago. I think he did his last show up Maine. It was a cooking show.
A cooking show
up in Maine.
Oh yeah, he was
the
he was
Baldacci family, Robert and son Teddy, and I was up there. I did a show with them too, talking about F. Lee Bailey up there.
Oh, F. Lee Bailey, the country's preeminent criminal lawyer, was doing a cooking show.
Oh, he loved to cook.
He loved the limelight.
Yeah.
He would do anything. He'd get up and sing with you if you want.
If you just to see him perform, like at the courtroom, and even outside the courtroom, it was just amazing.
No, he loved it. He was perfect.
He called me aside during the middle of the trial one time, and it just so happened the night of the murders, I had an asthma attack earlier that day, and I'm home, and I'm calling every ex-girlfriend I know up to come and spend some time with me. I don't want to be home alone sick, So I got like 6 to 8 ex-girlfriends all show up at the courthouse. They're all going to come in as witnesses, and my current fiance. And he looks at me and he goes, "When you're done up here, tell me how you do that." I said, "Do what?" He goes, "I got 3 ex-wives. I can't get them in the same state." He goes, "You got 6 ex-girlfriends over there buying lunch for each other." He goes, "Tell me how you do it." And just funny little things like that really kept me going. Asked me if I was nervous one time, and I told him what they said, and he's like, "Our presence here is like casting pearls before swine." And I just remember that all the time. It's just saying.
And when he defended the Boston Strangler, or the one who was convicted of being the Boston Strangler, Albert DeSalvo, he did that pro bono too. I mean, that was a huge case.
He was innocent.
Whoever the Strangler was, and I don't think it was DeSalvo, and neither did F. Lee Bailey. But
pretty much everybody on the street
he's going to say Hitler was innocent, But over the years, more evidence has come to light that indicates that DeSalvo was innocent. DeSalvo's problem was he confessed.
Yeah.
He liked the limelight. He liked the photographers. He liked everything. He didn't realize or didn't care. Let's put it this way: the guy wasn't wrapped too tight. I mean, who would do that? No. Spend the rest of your life in jail just because you're getting your name in the paper.
But he was in there with the real murderer. He was locked up with him, DeSalvo, with the real murderer. I'm not sure if the guy's dead or alive, so I don't want to say any names, but it's pretty common knowledge who the real Boston Strangler was.
Yeah, I know. And at the time, everybody was ripping apart F. Lee Bailey. This guy will say anything to get his client off, and, fast forward 40 years, and he was right.
Yeah. He was.
Okay, so Paul, you're out of jail. You're free. There's no probation. There's no parole. There's nothing. What do you do with you? How old are you, first of all, at this time?
Right now, I think I was 21. I think I was 25 when they released, when I got out.
Oh, wow. You were young, 25.
Yeah. I was 21 years old. I was never away from home before. Next thing I know, I'm shoved in Charles Street Jail. It was a Civil War prison. You didn't have toilets. You had bowls sticking out of the wall. Now it's a 5-star hotel. I can't even get in. I couldn't get out.
I love that. That's perfect.
All the windows were broken, pigeons flying around inside, snow on the first tier.
Yeah. So what did you? It's okay. You're 25 years old. What do you do?
Probably a lot of everything I wasn't supposed to do. I came home really mean, chip on my shoulder. A lot of people were
understandable,
killing me and hurting me, and I had to defend myself.
But you had to have a lot of guys in the neighborhood that respected you, the real guys. They would. In the middle of a mob war, both sides of the mob war were dating sisters in the same family in that trial. Oh.
So I had.
I forgot about that war.
I had guys on both sides of the mob war trying to ice me. Plus my other friends who didn't want me back.
So what did you do? Did you go back into life in any form?
Went to service merchandise, bought 2 black powder pistols, captain balled them up, walked to the playground, turned the corner, opened the long leather jacket, pulled out that hog and started pulling shots over people's heads. Let everybody know I'm home. Everybody scattered.
Welcome home.
That's it. And after that, I just kept doing the same stuff. The crazier I got, the less people came.
That makes sense. So what were you doing? Who were you with? You had to be with somebody up there. You can't operate.
I was.
No,
I was with a lot of people, and until one night, I got a phone call. I was told not to go hang in the playground where I always hang, and it happened to be by 2 of the hitmen who are both dead now, Rico Ponzo and Bobby Blur Jr. And they called me and told me not to go. And they whacked my co-defendant, Frankie DiBenedetto. They gunned him down with shotguns. They were loaded with birdshot by mistake, and he lived. He's still serving time. He's still serving a natural life sentence up Walpole. He's an ordained minister now, I think, and everything.
Oh, they all find God in jail.
Definitely life. They should really consider letting him go. He was a child when all this happened. We all were.
How long's he been in?
Close to 40 years.
Jeez, man.
So, Julia, have any comments on this? I'm reading your face. I wish our audience they could see it once we.
You want to know how really strange it gets? The person who framed me and said it was me, it ruined my life, actually asked me for forgiveness last year, and really? I granted it to him. I had coffee with him less than 2 weeks ago.
Oh wow! How does that make you feel? That's great. How does that make you feel?
He called me up. Someone called me on the phone. He goes, Paul, I'm tired. He goes, I'm tired of living in fear. He goes, you're either going to jump out and shoot me or stab me at some point. He goes, when you see me, he said, I can't live like this anymore. He goes, please forgive me. What do I got to do? And I just told him, we're good. And then started talking here and there, and that was it.
Wow.
And we talk a lot more about like how it was growing up on the corner and hanging out, with Jimmy Lamoli and the Cooper Street crew and selling fireworks in the Stillman playground and
the good memories,
little scores here and there, robbing the arcade and drug stores and whatever else,
I tell you, I have to admire.
We were just young kids, mischievous.
It's a rare Italian that doesn't hold a grudge, and somebody that's involved in the life and criminality. I mean, that's like tenfold. You never forget anything. I mean. Johnny, you could probably tell a story. Somebody that has an argument with a guy 20 years ago holds a grudge over going to the grocery store to get tomatoes. Some ridiculous thing.
It's stupid.
20 years later, they bring it up again. They draw guns and kill each other.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it.
He was a 16-year-old kid that they involved in mob scores. You know what I mean? They shouldn't be involving children and stuff like that. You know, so I mean, last time I seen him, he was 16. I see him now; he's a grown man. We're both old men now. You know, so it's kind of weird. It's
How old are you now, if you don't mind saying?
I was 21.
No, how old are you now?
Now I'm going to be 60 in September.
Oh, wow, you're a young man.
Yeah, well, compared to us, yeah.
I have 3 children older than you.
And I take a lot of flack over being his friend and talking to him and stuff like that. But I mean, that whole thing, a lot of people don't realize that started the whole Salemi war up in Boston.
Wow.
Because the cocaine was robbed out of Salemi's office above the Saloma Club. And it started the whole thing. That whole Boston Salemi war thing, that was the kickoff.
It's all about the money.
Yep,
okay, so
that missing cocaine, and they went hunting for it everywhere.
Yeah.
So for the rest of your adulthood, what did you do?
Well, the whole time the trial went on, I was basically working and hustling.
After jail.
After I came home on bail, I still had lots of bills I had to pay, old legal bills that I had to catch up on, private investigators, polygraph examiners, and I actually took and passed a polygraph exam from, I think his name was Lynn Marcy out of Dearborn, Michigan. He was the president of the American Polygraph Society, answers to the president of the United States when he does agents. And they told him that he wasn't reputable. Yeah, he kind of went off. F. Lee Bailey destroyed the whole thing. Back then, Massachusetts was one of the only states that actually allowed the polygraph test with the judge's, consent.
Well,
and once I passed it, the judge didn't want to hear it.
Yeah, I've been a polygraphist. This is how I started in the business, but I've given thousands of polygraph tests. Generally, the general rule across the country is in every jurisdiction. When people say, well, you can't admit the results of polygraph tests in court. Yes, you can, if both sides stipulate. And how often is that going to happen?
Right.
The OJ case was, we're talking about F. Lee Bailey and the OJ case. OJ took a polygraph test, and I know the person who administered it. I don't want to mention his name. And the theory was, OJ is an actor, and I use the word loosely, but they figured if he can act, so to speak, he can probably bluff his way through a test. So what the defense thinks in cases like this, when they want a guilty client to take a polygraph test, is that they can beat it. And in OJ's case, I figured he's an actor. He can act his way out of it. Anyway, I saw that chart, that long piece of paper that comes out. It's called the chart. So the guy who gave the test was a friend of mine. But anyway, he failed it so miserably. The object was, if he passed the test, the opposition, the prosecutor, wasn't going to admit it, but the defense was going to leak the results of the test. The inquirer, anybody that would, and it would taint the jury pool, but he failed that miserably. Yeah. I mean, not much of an actor, but we know that. But polygraph, you'll never get both sides saying, yeah, admit it. There's somebody always has some kind of an argument. But
the dumbest part of that case, and they were all sitting there. F. Lee Bailey. I mean, you name. I know every one of those attorneys. And when they got up and said, if the glove don't fit, you have to acquit. I mean, I'll never forget that.
Yeah, this was a glove.
A glove that anybody can spread their hand. It's already been wet and fermented. I mean, it's not going to fit a midget.
It was wet from blood.
I know.
So it's leather, so it shrinks. But not only that, not to contaminate the glove, he was wearing a glove under the glove.
I mean, it was so funny.
And
when I saw that, after all of those, I mean, that was a trial that went on forever. Yeah. That was like got the highest rating on television for months. Well, you had to see this in this country. This is a man that killed 2 people. Yeah. And I know that he did it.
Oh, well, really?
I know that he did it. I mean, that poor kid brought glasses back from the restaurant because her mother left them on the table.
Yeah, Goldman.
Yeah. Goldman, yeah. I mean,
they had DNA, but the problem was they had DNA evidence, but that was at the infancy of DNA. And they were talking such technicalities to the jury that they were literally getting put to sleep. Now in juries, everybody expects DNA because they're watching too much CSI on television. They know more about DNA than the forensic scientists know. Back then, they didn't know what the hell they were talking about.
Yeah,
It was so complicated.
And a lot of corruption too.
That too.
Oh
in
my
my
God.
case, that when they started my second trial, they were looking for a piece of evidence, a bloody baseball cap from one of the victims, and it just happened to be found in a bag with my leather jacket, contaminating my jacket. So when they says, "Oh well, we can't tell if this was contaminated before or after this and that," and Anthony Bailey pulled out a piece of paper, he goes, "No, we had Mr. Tanso's jacket privately tested back in 1986. Here's the thing, and it wasn't contaminated in 1986, and it shouldn't have been contaminated in 95 either." And he really covered all his bases. To see
that's
him
the one
move,
thing. No, to have him, he was the master.
you should have seen him with the polygraph exam. Oh my God, he humiliated, he verbally beat that guy. He gets him on the stand. He's like, so you know about polygraphs? He goes, yes. He says, have you gone to school for him? He's like, no. He's like, how do you use them? He goes, well, I use them every day and I train with them and I train other people how to use them. He says, well, how do you get your knowledge how to use these polygraphs? He goes, well, I read books. So Bailey picks up a book and he tosses it. He goes, if you read a book on flying in jets, can you take my plane for a ride? Overruled. Everybody went wild at that point, but the point was made.
Oh yeah.
He just had the right things to say at the right time. He had some great just to watch.
When you're an effective criminal lawyer at that level, you have to be an actor.
Oh no, they are.
Yeah.
They study. I have one of my, in fact, I have my original attorney, Barry Schlotnick, great attorney. His son now is my attorney, Stu Schlotnick. We just beat a major case nobody even knew about. But his father taught him. And if you want to read a great book, it's out now. It's The Defense Attorney. The people he had, but it's all theatrics. He used to go to tanning beds, get his suits made. He's an actor. When he gets in front of that jury, that's what they do. And they're masters at it. They're masters. Yeah. And get a half a reputation, you're done. You keep going. It's crazy, crazy business. Julio, I would like for just you being the eyes and ears of our younger group of audience, what do you have to say to Paul in curiosity or whatever? This is what we do, Paul. We like to include the millenniums because they're saying like, who right now she thinks she's over here in a conversation in a saloon somewhere up in the North End.
It's so crazy to listen to and to learn all of this and not having been alive when any of this was happening, just to hear these stories. But to have such a high caliber person represent you and to do it pro bono and to do other cases pro bono, did he ever discuss with you why he did that?
I wouldn't even know where to begin. Like I said, Ken Fishman was like really the anchor behind everything. When it came like to pulling everything together, I could never say enough greatness about him. And Anthony Bailey knew how to pick the best teams. But, Ken was steering the ship. Ken,
No.
Ken knew me since a child. He watched me grow up in that office,
No, he had teams. To give credit to the rest of the people, the investigators, Nallies and all these guys, he had the best. Yeah. But that's what he knew how to do, and they all wanted to work with him. That's how they're getting their credits and their recognition.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about.
And Paul, I'm sorry, Johnny, go ahead.
No.
Paul, you really helped yourself. After all is said and done with the trial, to my way of thinking, that's just half of it. What you went through and the people who did you wrong, if you would have held a grudge and you did forgive who you had to forgive, you would have been a bitter old guy.
No, he would have been dead.
Yeah.
They would have took him out.
Would have killed you.
No.
Well, it didn't all end exactly the way, like when the trial was over, I was engaged to a beautiful young woman. I was put through nursing school and stopped all illegal activity. I enrolled in North Bennett Street Industrial School to be a jeweler. And it was the first college I ever went to at that point. and everything seemed to be going fine. And I just put everything behind me. And I got a phone call 6 months into school. My mother had pancreatic cancer.
Oh, wow.
And you have to deal with that.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, but the attitude is everything.
Yeah, it was like, that was it. That was the thing, and then, some of these people making weird, bad, just comments. That's what she gets, having a son like him and stuff like that. I kind of went off the deep end.
Well, how could you not,
Yeah, but, you really turned your life around. You hear people say that a lot, but when you really look deep down, a lot of them that said they did really didn't. But you did.
Oh, yeah.
What are you doing with yourself now these days?
I'm working up at All Quality Autos, Route 1 in Saugus, next to Hockeytown, with Eddie Portala. Gave me a job up there, and I'm working with him. And we're just trying to get the place running. And it was a former condemned building, and we've been up here working since last summer, trying to get everything up and going.
And what do you want to make it? That's interesting to know. What are you trying to make that building now?
Well, we were originally selling cars, and we're having some ordinance problems with City Hall once again. You know the way it goes. But they're working everything out, and I have all the faith in the world in these guys. I mean, they really look out for me, take care of me like big brothers.
Oh, that's great.
Good.
That's important. You have that now.
I don't know if you know Bill Stacks from Chatting with Stacks. He usually comes up here and stays up here a couple of nights a week. I do the overnight security, and he comes up here and hangs out with me. He's really cool. I met him when he was just starting too, and I just did my first podcast. We just had to hit it off, had a lot of laughs.
That's good. I'm happy for you. I'm sure our audience listening to what you went through and survived, and you have a great attitude. I mean, it's the first time I met you. I'd hang out with you.
Well, Paul, we'd like to thank you for being on our show. It's been very enlightening. We've truly never had anybody like you on the show that doesn't have an axe to grind, that isn't complaining about the past, about the future, about everything else. You owned up to everything, and that's really commendable. What do you think, Gianni?
Oh, it definitely is. And my invitation to you on July 20th, it's a Thursday night. You know the Regent Theater in Arlington. Please be my guest. Get in touch with me and tell me how many tickets you want. I'd love to see you.
Definitely. Sounds good.
Do you know a place up there on Sunday nights that do Sinatra nights, an Italian restaurant? They just invited me. I'm going to be there.
Sunday nights in the summer, now they're out there. I'm sure there's a dozen places doing Sinatra nights.
Well, you know, guy Joe the Baker up there is a big baker, industrial baker. He's coming to the fancy food show with me on Sunday. I can help you out with some friends if you don't know them.
They probably all know me. I probably know them by nicknames and stuff like that.
I'd love to see
I used to hang in Strager's all the time when Nicky first opened.
My God, yeah.
His previous owner was Frankie Pizzarella. He was like a father to me. And he owned Rosina's restaurant. He actually sold Strager's to Nicky.
Yeah. I mean, I know all those guys up with Lemoncello, all those guys when they look at the restaurant. Look at the look at the restaurants Nicky has opened since then. My God.
Yeah. There's all the you got Payucas on Palmetto Street, you got Artuz, Donato over there, and there's so many good places down there.
Oh my God.
Victoria.
Yeah.
They see the Victoria Cafe now, and it's all glitzed up. They should have seen it in the 70s. That wasn't a fire you walked into.
Thank you so much. No, we're going to be in touch with you. And
thank you for having me. I hope I did okay. And
oh, you did great, man.
You did great. How could you? You wrote the script. Hello.
I hope so.
Okay,
I never know how these come off.
All right.
Thank you for having me. And like I said, if I can ever do anything else, please get in touch with me. And I'm looking forward to seeing you down the feast this summer.
Please, I'll be there.
I'll introduce you to some of my friends.
There you go. All right.
Well, have a good day, man.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Please. Okay, we're going to do one more commercial. Come back. I just want to do a recap so that Julia and our audience can understand what we don't understand, and maybe Julia can figure it out, and vice versa. We'll be right back. Corleone Vodka on March 9th was picked as the best vodka for martinis in the world by the Robb Report.
by calling 518-713-4050 or 518-220-9463. It could be shipped directly to your house. The finest vodka in the world by Rob Report.
Okay, we're back, and that guest, I have to say, Pat,
Yeah.
really, thank you for finding him.
Yeah.
Yes, this is all new to you. We've been doing this for 2 years. You've been doing this for 3 shows. Are you in shock yet?
Actually, we've been doing this for 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
But are you enjoying it?
Oh, I most definitely am. Like the amount that I'm even have just learned in the past, like 3 episodes having been on here with you guys is just crazy. Like, you know, I grew up watching some like documentaries about true crime and things like that. And, you know, I watched the recent like Ted Bundy stuff, and it was always things that were like interesting. But like hearing real live stories about this is just crazy. And just like, you know, hearing people's lives and how one thing then affected the rest of the trajectory of their life is just crazy.
Well, Paul's a great example, though. I mean, to have the attitude he has, man, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, he is.
Come out the other
a
side.
happy-go-lucky guy, and you really have to be like that, otherwise you get old and bitter. And that doesn't stop anything, because the people that you're angry at, they don't care that they're going on with their lives. They really don't care. But Julia, you're going to find as time goes on, you get used to this life and the type of guests we have on. You'll be jumping in more. You'll be asking more questions.
Yeah, definitely. I was just a bit of.
No, you got to be in shock, but we don't want you to be afraid. Just
no.
Digest it. And
right now for you is a learning experience, and everybody goes through it. You know, this time next year, you're going to have your own crew of wise guys. You're going to be doing. you're going to be committing crimes.
You'll have your own family. Your father.
Yeah. She can say, Gianni taught me, you know.
There you go.
Taught me the ways.
Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. As usual, we're here every Wednesday dropping a new show. Thank you for staying with us all these years, man. We got 257 hours up now. God bless. Julia, what a delight. Pat, I'll see you on the radio.
Okay, buddy.
Was that?
Tuning in to the Hollywood
and I'll be back.
You can contact Gianni Russo or Patrick Picciarelli with your questions and comments through the contact section of our website, HollywoodGodfatherPodcast.com, which is where you can also subscribe to our weekly newsletter. You can also call and leave us a message at 646-776-3038. Remember to follow us on Instagram at Hollywood Godfather and on Facebook, as well as leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'd like to know what you like about what we're doing, what you'd like to hear in the future, and anything else you might suggest to improve our podcast. Most importantly, hit the subscribe button. We'll be back next week with stories of the mob in Hollywood, as well as answers to your messages. Good night.
Plus I hung out with the Pope at the Vatican Bank. My kids still can't believe I sat with a saint. My life's like scenes out of a movie. I'm the Hollywood Godfather, truly. I got stories with them all. You know, celebrities, world leaders, icons. Who knows what's next for me? I'll never get too old to have a little fun. Come on, I'm Gianni Russo, a genuine one of a kind. What a ride it's been, this life of mine. And I ain't done yet. I'll be back. Until next time.
And that was that.
When I was 17, it was a very good year. It was a very good year for small town girls and soft summer nights. We'd hide from the lights on the village green. When I was 17,